right, we are up. This is the Our Town with Troy By. And this is a special episode because it's out of sequence, if you will, and this is exactly what I hope will happen, where something's about to happen with our guest. Now, this is a guest that should be familiar if you are a longtime listener of this program. Back-to-back episodes, I believe it was 13 and 14.
Yeah, it was early, I think.
It was very early. And as Tim Knox, who is the president of Revolved, right?
Well, I'm president of Leading Edge United now.
Well, don't spoil it.
Okay.
Yet. Don't spoil it.
Former owner broker of Revolved.
Yeah, you would have checked out episode 13 or 14 and saw we went back to back and just a really cool background. So we're not going to get into that today.
Okay.
That if I would refer anyone back to those episodes to hear more about Tim and his upbringing, the many different jobs, the many different talents this man has. But today is a special announcement that's going to be part of what they're rolling out, and they've got some exciting news we're going to share. But as I was just mentioning, I had to wear this shirt.
I love this shirt.
The Mr. T-shirt, Huntsville, Pity the Fool from Foul Wow Designs. I believe I wore it at some point in one episode. I can't remember which one it was, but I was like, I got to wear this for Tim. Just
How many T-shirts do you have? Because you got a different T-shirt on every episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be at least 50 now. And there's plenty that I struggle with my weight, and there's plenty I haven't worn because I can't fit into them.
Yeah.
Like I was at the Pandas game last night, and I bought a new T-shirt, and I went to put it on. Like, oh, this doesn't fit yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to lose some pounds.
Well, if you're like me, I've gone up and down in weight over the years. I have different sections of my closet for different sizes.
Yeah.
And once I get into this size, I'm like, oh, I need to cut back just a hair.
Yeah. Well, my son got married about a month ago, and I did lose weight for the wedding, and I felt great, and I felt like I was on my way down. And then just like, you get into a routine, like trying to lose weight, and I got out of the routine just in the traveling and going to the wedding and coming back, and the next thing you know, you're out of your routine.
Well, you're like me. We're vertically challenged.
Yeah, thank you.
So, if we were 6'5", we'd be very thin.
And we might be professional athletes or something. We might be doing a different profession.
Somewhere, yeah.
So, Tim, let's go ahead and have you announce why did you reach out to me? Why are we here today talking?
Well, we have had some developments in the business, and I kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, but the company that we started 5 years ago, Revolved Realty, we have merged with another local company called Leading Edge. And together we are forming a company called Leading Edge United. United Real Estate is one of the partner owners in the business.
Okay.
And in merging so, we are now going to be the number 3 brokerage in our local area, volume-wise, sales-wise. It's just a really super exciting time because Revolved Realty and Leading Edge, we've been friends for a long time. The Danny and Charlene who started Leading Edge, and our businesses just sort of grew together. Although they've been in business a lot longer than we have. They have about 200 agents. I think we have about 95. But there was just a synergy there in our business models and our personalities. So we announcing today that we have merged. Revolved Realty will brand-wise go away. The new company is Leading Edge United, and we're very excited. We've immediately got, I think, 7 or 8 offices, about 300 agents, and just
That's awesome.
plans to take over.
You're waking up more and more excited every day, aren't you?
You know what? I am. My wife will tell you that my attention span in business is about 2 years.
Yeah.
And after about 2 years, I'm ready to sell it, go do something else. Well, 5 years into real estate, and this is a great development because we had grown Revolved about as big as we could grow it without adding, employees and systems and software. And so doing this merger immediately took care of all that for us.
Yeah.
So I'm energized. I am, I'm not, me, I don't really care about titles. President of the company, Danny Sullivan, is CEO of the company, but my day-to-day focus is going to be recruiting and retention and building the business. So I am pretty excited.
All right, so you pick up additional reach right there down in Gunnersville and Birmingham I think they even are in Tennessee.
They are. Yeah. We, excuse me, we had offices in Research Park. We got offices in Decatur. We have a little satellite in Madison. Leading Edge they got an office in South Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, Gunnersville, Fayetteville, Birmingham. They are in Tennessee. So now we've got, like I said, about 7 offices.
Yeah.
And our focus is to grow. We want to move beyond where we are now.
Yeah.
We have basically the rights to the state. So if we want to push Birmingham, that sort of thing, we're certainly going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's a fun time.
So let's step back first and talk about Danny, and who was the other founder?
Charlene is his wife. Yep.
Okay. So let's talk first about when did you actually meet them, and how did you become friends?
It's kind of funny. Probably 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah, part of my background was in speaking and entertainment and that sort of thing. I get a call from Danny, and he wants me to come do a motivational speech type thing at a luncheon for his agents. And so I really wasn't doing that anymore, but we went and we met for coffee, and we really hit it off. And he said, "You ever thought about going into real estate?" I'm like, "No, why would I think about that?" And so, a couple of years later, I was semi-retired, looking for something to do. I always credit my daughter Chelsea with getting me in real estate because she was already in it.
Right.
And so, what's really interesting is, the first 3 years we had Revolved, we were just a small company. It was me, Chelsea, a broker, and I think 6 or 7 agents who kind of followed me out of real estate school.
Yeah.
We really weren't focused on growth. We were focused on sales and that sort of thing. And then it was actually 2 years ago, January, we decided to change our business model, because I wanted to step more out of production. Because, in my mind, an entrepreneur is someone who can go on vacation for a week, come back, and the business is still going. Well, if I walked out and got hit by a truck, Revolved would have closed down. I mean, it was just, basically, I hadn't built a business. I'd built a really good team.
Yeah.
So I wanted to step out of production, and I knew to do that, we had to change our business model to be more appealing to agents, because that's one of the things is I was bringing in most of the business. And for me to step back, we needed more agents. So we looked at different business models as far as recruiting and retaining agents. And then we looked at Leading Edge, which was Danny and Charlene. And they had a broker services model where they didn't take a big cut of the agent's money. It was a transaction fee. And I really liked that model. So honestly, I copied his model. And I let him, "Hey, buddy, I like what you're doing. I'm going to copy it."
But hold on now. But so you meet him, he mentions this thing about real estate, and you're like, "Why would I do that?"
Exactly.
But
yeah.
how much time passes before you decide, not only am I going to get in the game, I'm not going to join you, Danny, but I'm getting in the game and I'm going to start Revolved?
Well, about 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because honestly, when he mentioned it to me, I could not imagine being a real estate agent. And, it turns out I was in the top 1% of real estate agents, but at the time it just wasn't where my headspace was.
Yeah.
I was an entrepreneur, and that's why we started Revolved really quickly once I did get in the business, because I couldn't be an agent for someone else.
Right.
Again, nothing wrong with that, but with just the way I'm wired, I had to be the entrepreneur, the owner. So about 2 years from when I first met Danny to when we started Revolved, and then 3 years into Revolved is when we changed our business model to be similar to what Danny had been doing at Leading Edge.
And that's like the flat fee.
It was actually, it's what's called broker services, where your agents pay a low monthly fee, and then they pay a transaction fee on all of their sales rather than doing a commission split.
Okay.
Typically, the way most real estate companies work, traditionally, it's always been, the broker takes 30% and the agent gets 70%, or some semblance of that. What we do and what Leading Edge did was, rather than taking a split or a cut of the commission, we charge a fee based on the price of the house. So the agent at the end of the day takes home about 96% of their money.
Okay.
And Danny had been doing that here as Leading Edge successfully for years. We started it, it was 2 years ago, January, and really just kind of took off. I mean, when we started that iteration of Revolved, I think we probably had 10 agents. And then within 2 years, we were at 95, which honestly, and this is not a brag on me, but a credit to everybody involved, is just phenomenal growth when it comes to agent count. And so that's really what got Danny and I, circling back around after a few years going, our models are very similar. We're both looking to grow. What if we merged and go from there?
Yeah.
And so that's really how it all came to be.
Now, what does he see as like the real strengths that you all have that Leading Edge may be deficient in, where you're going to cover that gap, that weakness?
I think the one of the reasons that I was appealing as an owner, entrepreneur, et cetera, is my ability to market, recruit. I'm always the loudest guy in the classroom. I say that a lot. The loudest kid always gets the most attention. I used to get my butt tore up every day by Coach Holland with that paddle, but I got the attention. And so, my strengths are from the business building side of things, revenue building, primarily through agent recruiting and retention, which is what this business is all about. The average real estate agent might sell 5 houses a year. They're typically in the business 12 to 18 months. Real estate has the largest turnover of any business. So the recruiting and retention piece, especially in this type of business, is very vital. Yeah. And I think that's really what got not only Danny's attentions, but the folks at United Real Estate. They were very much involved in this as well.
Yeah.
It was a thing where they looked at the business that we had and what we'd done in a very short amount of time, how we managed to do that, and then how we might take that even further. And, the exciting thing for me is by doing this merger, I'm no longer out there by myself. I've always been the guy who pretty much does everything. I ran the company, I generated leads, I did my own production business, I did most of the marketing, I was a one-man show, even though I had help. And so with this, our team at Revolved is plugging in with the team that was at Leading Edge. And now I think we've got just a killer team that's going to cover all the bases and really allow us to grow like crazy.
Are those agents bowing out early? I guess there's one of two things in my mind that might be attributed to that. One is maybe they don't realize the amount of work that's actually required.
Yeah.
Specifically on the weekend, right? You can kind of kiss your weekends goodbye when it comes to open houses, or just you're taking your clients out to look at properties.
Right.
And your weekend is probably somewhere in Monday or Tuesday type thing. Or they're just not happy with what they thought they were going to make out of the gate, and it's going to be more lucrative.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, I guess when you pair those two together, is that kind of the leading drivers?
I mean, everyone has an opinion why the turnover rate is so high in real estate. My opinion is this: number one is they thought it was going to be easier than it was. They look at people who are making really good money in real estate and go, well, I can do that. But they underestimate the amount of time it takes. They underestimate the amount of money it takes because, you're not going to just jump out there and set the world on fire in real estate. Yeah. There are almost 4,000 agents in our local MLS. And if you're going to stand out, you're going to work your backside off. Yeah. And so they don't do what is required. One of the big things is they don't get the training that they need. With our model, we focus very much on training, recruiting, coaching, mentoring, that sort of thing. We've got over, I think, 300 training videos that I've recorded over the years. So we really focus on the training. And so a lot of agents, a lot of brokerages do not offer that kind of training and mentoring. So they don't get the training they need. A lot of times it's just the fact that they're not cut out to be in this business. It is, and I get yelled at all the time. You shouldn't say that. This is a dirty, cutthroat business.
Sure.
At the end of the day, it is, because it's a sales business. It's super competitive, especially in our market where there's such limited inventory.
Yeah.
So, rarely is someone going to just jump out there within their first year and make anything, honestly.
Yeah.
And so it may take the average agent 2 or 3 years to actually get to the point where they are making a decent living. And that's what I said. The average realtor might sell 5 houses a year.
Really?
If you sell 5 houses a year in our market, you might make $10,000-$15,000 after all is said and done. So you've got to be able to stick with it. So it's really just a lack of preparedness, a lack of training, a lack of funds. You know, if you need a paycheck by Friday, don't go into real estate, my friend. You know, if you luck out and get a contract tomorrow, you might get a check in 45 days.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. People look at real estate and they go, well, that doesn't look that hard. It is the hardest job I've ever had.
Really?
You know, I've been in a lot of different businesses. This is probably the most difficult one to succeed. And it may take you 2 or 3 years. I mean, I know folks now who are the top realtors in town. They've been doing it a long time and they starved their first few years.
Yeah.
So, you know, we try to alleviate that by providing all the training and the mentoring and the hand holding and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
I was telling my kids, I think I was telling them, hey, Tim's coming on, and my son Jason, who you met coming in, he's really he just graduated high school and he's recovering from surgery, and so he's doing a lot of like online learning and getting into like the market and investments and trying to understand that. But we were talking, and I was like, you know, the other thing about real estate that's challenging is it's just like when people change jobs. If they don't change jobs that often, it's a very uncomfortable thing, and they kind of lose their minds in a way. They lose their normal common sense and or thinking, and someone says something and that makes them do this, and then they want to, you know, they make a promise to a company, but then they overturn it because then they had another conversation with someone else. So in real estate, it's kind of there's a lot of money at stake. You know, in some cases, it's, you know, you really want the house, or the wife really wants the house, and you're like, okay, well, maybe if we buy it, maybe I'll get a better job and actually afford it, and just don't do it that often. And so then I would assume that leads to the headaches and the aggravation and the cutthroatness of false promises, or you really thought you had this in the bag and then you don't, and you're, for whatever reason, they're not taking your offer.
Right.
And that's where the agent really comes in. Just they have to know all of this, you know, whether it's working with that selling agent or the buyer's agent or the tendencies, or they've seen this happen or seen that happen. Don't worry, don't stress it, you know. Yeah.
Well, you got to also realize this is a business with a lot of contracts, a lot of legalities, a lot of opportunities to mess up. And so there are so many things that a good agent needs to learn. You know, number one, I mean, this is what they focus on mostly in school is the law, Alabama license law. You learn all that. You know, unfortunately, schools do not teach you how to be a realtor.
Right.
You know, they teach you basically how to pass a test with a C. That's it. So once you get your real estate license, you really need to find a broker or a mentor or a company that offers you a lot of training. Now, the mistake that a lot of new agents make is they don't take the time for the training. You know, I had an agent call me yesterday, brand new, just got his license, never done the first deal, calls me up and says, hey, I got a guy who called me that wants to invest in real estate. What do I do? You learn. You tell him you'll call him back in 6 months. You know what I mean? Right. And I told him, I said, look, I cannot teach you how to be a real estate agent and deal with investors in a 5-minute phone call. So a lot of that failure has to do with the failure on the agent's part to actually learn.
Yeah.
And not only about the contracts and, you know, the ins and outs of the business, but one of the biggest things is the marketing.
Yeah.
You know, Robert Kiyosaki, who sold, you know, tens of millions of books, my favorite quote of his is, I am not the best writer in the world, but I am the best marketer. And that applies to real estate like nothing else. One of the reasons why I managed to come screaming out of the gate and sold, 75 houses my first year is I was good at marketing. Yeah. I was good at social media. I was good at video. So I came out of the gate screaming, but I had 30 years of business behind me to back that up. Yeah. So it is a very high failure rate. You've got to have a very, very thick skin. There's a lot of rejection, but again, a lot of people, they're just not cut out for the business. It's tough.
All right, I'm going to show a clip. This is from your video yesterday. Okay. And let's do this. Let's go picture in picture here. And
what a handsome young man.
Yeah, look at
that gray hair.
Let's play this.
Free. So let me pull off my long range glasses or my short range and put on my long range so I can see that giant screen there. And we're going to take a look at the market. Let me
Like the
pull this up.
backdrop by the office is beautiful.
You know, that conference room worked out really
as
well.
we
always do. We are looking at our 4 main metros: Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur. And again, Huntsville is the main hub here. We are now the largest city in the state. And boy, the growth is it's just been phenomenal.
People
and the
love those
housing
silly
market is a
market
reflection
videos.
of that. So,
Say that again?
All right,
I
so
said people
we are
love those
looking at
silly market
Huntsville.
update
That is
videos.
the
Yeah.
blue line. Madison is the red.
Well, that's just, I don't want to belabor it, but it's basically, for anyone that's not familiar with you, I stumbled upon, when I first moved here, one of your videos because I was looking at, moving here and was curious what, I don't know, people were saying about the Huntsville market.
Right,
So I
yeah.
stumbled upon your video, and then that leads to the reason I showed that first clip was just transparency. Info sparks. I don't know if that's a thing that only you have a license
It's
to.
in the MLS.
It's
yeah.
the MLS. But here is someone that, you're showing the data, you're showing who you are. Ultimately, you're not being pushy.
Not
with-
at all.
with
We are
the
totally
sales.
not salesy. at
And
all.
then later, actually, let's just show this clip because this is the one that I think is extremely important, where you talk about the number of homes on the market. So let's do that.
construction, a lot of groundbreaking, but still, let's see how many new listings were on the market. So you can see, even though we've got a lot of construction going on, there doesn't seem to be that many new construction homes coming to the market at the moment. You've got 26 in Huntsville, just 10 in Madison. There's not a lot of land left in Madison, boys and girls. 17 in Athens. And look at that, one new home came on the market last month in Decatur. Not a lot of construction in Decatur City.
One home, one new home.
Isn't that crazy? One new house in the city of Decatur.
Well, and there's a lot of billboards here. There's a lot of real estate companies that advertise. There's a lot of agents. It seemingly is an easy business to get into, right? But then it's not an easy business to stay in.
Right. Yeah, the barrier to entry is very low.
And then you see data like that. There's not that many homes out there, right? That all of you as a business are chasing. So I'm assuming that's another reason, like you were saying before, you get to that size where you have to make that choice if you're going to invest in the back office and employees, or how do you continue to compete? And it's going to continue to be hot for a while.
It will, yeah.
Right at the very beginning of the video, we're always kind of at a slow increasing rate. We're increasing at an increasing rate over time, and there might be some dips here and there. But I think that the overall growth, that's the trend.
Right.
Getting then with Leading Edge and now creating Leading United, that is in a way a good thing, right? Where you're somewhat leveling the playing field or removing some of the competition out of the way, right?
Well, it is. I mean, we are at a 20-year low in inventory. I mean, we've got, we talk a lot about months supply. Right now, we have maybe a month and a half of supply. If nothing else is put in the MLS and everything sells, we'll be out of houses here in a month and a half. That's incredibly low. That is very much a seller's market, right? Typically, when you've got 4 months of inventory, then you see it kind of turn.
Yeah.
So, again, I think there's almost 4,000 agents here all vying for the same business. So what we're doing by merging is, we're taking what were competitive agents on both sides and merging them into, now we've got almost 300 agents under the Leading Edge United umbrella. And I mean, again, that's going to put us to, volume-wise and dollar-wise, we will be number 3 in the market, meaning that our agents are afforded really a greater opportunity to buy, to list, to get business. The bigger you are, the better.
Yeah.
Because there's just more opportunities. We now have 300 agents bringing in listings. We have 300 agents bringing buyers.
Yeah.
It doesn't help build the inventory, but it gives us a more competitive advantage over a lot of other companies.
Are there other strengths? I had asked earlier, what did Leading Edge see in Revolved as far as strengths? What are the strengths you see in Leading Edge? I mean, assuming one of them's just
good
size,
question.
they're at least twice, if not 3 times,
Yeah.
the number of agents. What is it you see that you either are temporary weaknesses or just gaps that you have that they're just immediately going to fill?
Yeah. Well, the number one thing that we looked at was the growth. We have grown, again, really in the last 2 years, we've grown Revolve to, I think we were number 14 last year out of almost 500 brokerages. We were the little engine that could. And so, but it's kind of funny when you get to a point like 100 agents. We're at, I think, 95 now, but we would get to 99 and then we'd lose one. And we get back to 99 and we'd lose two. There's this imaginary bar there, and it really impedes the growth. So that was one of the things that Chelsea, my daughter, who's my partner in Revolve, we really looked at is, okay, what are the growth opportunities for us as a company, but also for our agents? Because the number one factor to us was our agents. That is the first thing Chelsea asked me when we started talking about this deal is, what does this mean to our agents? Because those people are our agents because I promised them things. I'm the guy that interviewed them. I'm the guy that sold them on Revolve. How does that affect them? And fortunately, because our businesses were so similar, it's just a really smooth transition. Yeah. So for me, it was more of a growth. We could go from being a highly profitable company with 95 agents to being a highly profitable company with 300 agents, and thereby more support, more staff, more software. There were just so many things that we immediately had access to that it really made it a no-brainer. Yeah. Because here's the thing. Leading Edge has United Real Estate behind them. United Real Estate, I believe they're the number 6 brokerage in the country now. Survey was just done that United's agents actually earn more than any other brokerage. So they're huge. They've got 25,000 agents around the country. Well, when you get to that size, you put a lot of money into back-end systems, software, technology, marketing, and we immediately have access to all of that. Yeah. So it's almost like we went from being this little, daddy-daughter business to being this big national company with all of the benefits that it is afforded. Yeah. And so that was the appeal to me. The other thing, honestly, for me, it comes down to personality. Because I love Danny and Charlene, but then I got to talking to the folks from United, and we were dealing directly with the CEO and president of the company. That to me was pretty damn impressive because Dan Duffy, who is the CEO, and Rick Haas, who's the president, they're running this big national company that, hundreds of millions of dollars. Just huge. And the fact that they were on the phone, talking to me and Chelsea about, merging with their local company here, that was pretty impressive. And it was impressive because they were very humble. They were very nice. It was like talking to somebody that you had known for a lot of years.
Where are they based out of?
They are based out of, good question, Austin or Denver somewhere. Okay. Every time I talk to Dan especially, he's in some other city. He is just a guy that that travels around. But United Real Estate, and I'm terrible with dates, but they started. I think it started as United Real Estate Group back in like 1925. Oh wow! And they're out west, and their bread and butter was more land, big areas of land, what they call lifestyle land. And I think they got in the. Let me get my notes because I want to get the date right. 2011 is when they started getting into retail real estate by opening brokerages. So in the last 12 years, they went from starting to being the number 6 in the country. And so they're just a big company, but everybody I've met there is just super nice, super helpful. They're and they told me this because I made the comment. I'm like, I've got 95 agents. We're small fish. And they made it very clear that there are no small fish. And so the personalities meshing was a big thing. If we didn't get along, if I didn't like these guys, I wouldn't have done the deal. So I had a great little business going.
So the message to your Revolved agents is really nothing really changes. If anything, it's just going to get better.
That is exactly right. We compared what we offered Revolved agents and what Danny offered Leading Edge agents, and it was just, really similar. And so that's what I tell, when we had the meeting to tell the agents, the message is, really there's changes, but they're all for the better.
Yeah.
But the changes are so subtle, they're not going to disrupt anything. I mean, we very easily changed the name of the company, so the licenses moved over. They immediately have access to all of this training, all of this technology, all of these people, and their fees are going to be lower, actually. So really, the logo is changing, and that's the most basic thing. But we really tried to find the negative. I beat my brain against the wall on this.
Sure.
Where's the downside? What am I missing? What is the negative? There was no negative in this deal for us.
Do they like your green? Are they going to use your green?
You know what's funny? I'm the only guy that likes my green.
Really?
So now leading edges, they've been branded here for I think 12 years.
Okay.
And but yeah, I've had agents, Revolved agents go, do I have to use the green? Am I the only guy that likes the green? So no, the leading edge logo colors are black and red.
Now, what will Chelsea's role be in the new company?
Chelsea is going to remain with the company just as an agent.
Okay.
Chelsea, God love her. She's just. You remember the old what was the old TV show Fridays? It was like a kickoff of Saturday Night Live on Fridays, and one of the skits they did was this Jamaican family, and they all had 10 jobs.
Oh, yeah.
How many jobs you got, man?
No, you're talking about In Living Color.
In Living Color, that was it.
That was Jim Carrey and
Yeah.
the
And that was
Wayans
their
brothers.
big thing. I got 24 jobs, man. How many
man.
jobs you got? And so Chelsea has 24 jobs. I mean, she not only is a really good real estate agent, but she, we're partners in Revolved Renovation, which we do flips and fixer-uppers. They've got a construction business. They've got a roofing business.
So none of that's a part of the...
None of that is all Chelsea and her husband Ammon. So
Gotcha.
she's going to spend a lot of time over there doing that.
I see.
But at Leading Edge, she's just going to assume a role as an agent.
Okay.
And she's still an owner because
Yeah.
we do get a piece of the pie. But yeah, her day to day is really going to be spent running those business and raising my grandsons.
Yeah.
Which is our number one priority. Yeah.
So how this will be released at the time that it's appropriate to release. I'm assuming as we sit here now, a couple weeks from that, no one outside of Chelsea and Dave and Charlene know about this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we let you in.
Yeah, thank you.
That tells you a lot about what I think about you.
Well, so let me just use. You may not be following this story, but the world of golf is ablaze right now.
Yes, it is.
It's going to change forever, and this whole Saudi-backed thing that started 3 years ago with the Live Tour, and people from the PGA defected. And I'm going to get to a point. Is this going to you're going to understand my point?
No, I like this story.
But it's and for those of us who are golfers and I hated it. I hate the whole Live thing.
Yeah.
And then you get the Saudi stuff and the 9/11 hijackers and the comments that were made by the PGA kind of co-opting those families in. And now the Saudis show up again. And so the DP World Tour, which is the European Tour and the PGA Tour and the PIF. So they're kind of like spinning away from Live, but that's who is funding them is they announce a merger. Right. And they don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, not even Tiger Woods knew. Not even Rory McIlroy, like the biggest. And these are the staunch who have been the staunch supporters of the PGA Tour, and not going, and supporting their non-adoptants, if you will, of Live and all this stuff. Right? It's like warfare, and they don't tell anybody. And so now they were asking those who were aware, like, "Hey, why didn't you say anything?" And they said, in this circumstance, confidentiality.
Yep.
We just live in a world you can't say anything to anybody. Yeah. And they said basically they had a clause in there. If anybody from any of those three representative PGA, the DP World Tour, or the PIF said a thing, the deal was over.
Right.
It blows up. It was a blow up clause.
Yeah.
Difficult at all for you to keep a lid on it? Are there people that are just curiously snooping around and wondering why Tim's having lunch here, or how hard is that?
Good question. It's hard for me to keep a secret. I'm the one they kept calling, going, "You can't say anything." In fact, they don't know I told you. Okay. So but no, there's a reason for that. I mean, this whole thing with the golf, we could talk about that for hours. But the thing about it is, in business, especially a business like ours that is hyper competitive, it's important that the announcement hit at the same time. And, with us, and by the time you see this would have happened, we're going to put together a luncheon for Revolved folks. And when they come in, Danny and Charlene are going to be there. There may be some folks from United. We're going to make the announcement then. At that exact moment, we have emails and press releases ready to go out. As soon as we make that announcement to the Revolved agents, the local associate, every agent in town will know. Inman, business journals. I mean, we're going to make a humongous deal of this.
Sure.
And United has the resources to do that. The thing about it is, if word got out ahead of time, buzz would begin, but a lot of it would be negative buzz.
Sure.
And that's the thing you're seeing this with the golf thing now, is there's just a lot of negative buzz about what went on. But in my business, because it is so competitive, and brokerages compete, with each other across the board, you want to, I guess you can say you want to control the narrative.
Yeah.
We're going to be releasing videos with Danny and I talking about why we did this. What are the reasons why we merged? We want to control that narrative and get that out there to every agent in town, every news feature, everyone, because it's going to answer all the questions. Why did Revolved and Leading Edge, who have been competitors, friendly competitors, suddenly come together?
Mm-hmm.
Why did they do it? Was it a good thing? Was it a bad? So a lot of it is just controlling that narrative.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, we want to make the transition for our people as seamless as possible. This really doesn't affect the Leading Edge folks much, other than they've got somebody new to look up to, and bug.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But everything really kind of stays the same for them. So we're concerned more with the transition of our 95 agents into that fold than anything. And controlling that narrative is key. And so even after we announced this at the luncheon, I'm going to reach out individually to every Revolved agent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to answer any questions they have. We've got a private Facebook group. I'll be posting videos. Hey, guys, I just want to answer questions, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it really does come down to controlling the narrative.
Absolutely.
And, of course, a lot of it has to do with marketing. So, yeah.
Well, hats off to you for doing it that way, because one of the biggest pet peeves I have, and it was even mentioned in this golf thing, like you're talking, it's not just real estate. Yeah, you've been only in the real estate business for 5 years, but you've been an entrepreneur and a business professional for many years.
40 years.
Those leading United, right? They've been around since 1925. Mm-hmm. It is inexcusable if someone does something and then says, well, we're going to make sure going forward that we do better.
Yeah.
No, you know better, right? And so, and I think you're seeing exactly all the lessons learned from your career,
right,
from their career this isn't the first time that they've done a merger or an acquisition, right?
Yeah.
And if any of those steps were ignored, then that's when you can get frustrated at people.
Yeah.
You're doing everything you can. You're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And ultimately, sometimes people will complain and be like, wow, I'm sure it's just about Tim. Like, well, you know what? Even if it was, this is just me.
Yeah.
I'm talking because I've interviewed you 3 times now.
Right.
You work your butt off.
I
remember I send all of my guests certain questions, right, to be answered. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, man, I was kind of picking at, what are your hobbies? Like, I work.
I have no hobbies.
I work and I take care of my grandkids.
That's it.
Yeah.
I
take care of my responsibilities. So for anyone that would ever suggest or think like, oh, Tim's just doing this as a money grab. Okay. Well, he's worked his butt off for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, but it's also you're the owner.
Yeah.
And that's the way it goes. That's the privilege and the benefit of ownership.
Yeah. Well, honestly, and quite bluntly, any money or ownership that we get out of this deal is well-deserved. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we really have built this little company. The first 3 years I really don't count, because we really weren't focusing on building the company. We were just focusing on making money and, but the last 2 years, like I said, to go from 10 agents to 95 within 2 years is unheard of, and to go from, 0 to number 14 in a market with almost 500 brokerages, again, I'm not patting myself on the back too hard, but we've done good.
Sure.
And a lot of that has to do with the dedication and the focus. And I just work and I do whatever I need to. I mean,
Mhm.
I even now as president of the company, I got a call yesterday from one of my agents. Hey, my kid's got a softball game. I've got an appointment to show a house. Is there any way you can go? I'm like, of course. So 7 o'clock last night, I'm out showing houses for one of my agents.
Mhm.
You know, titles don't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, here's the thing that really appealed to me about this merger is most traditional real estate companies have priorities like this: company first, clients second, agents third.
Mm.
That's it. Got to make money for the company. You know, if they, you know, with us, it's completely reversed. My business philosophy that I brought to real estate is agents first. Train them, support them, mentor them, coach them, pay them well, because happy, well-trained agents generate happy, satisfied customers, which brings revenue to the company.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of backwards that way. But and Danny and Charlene and United, exact same philosophy. Agents first.
Yeah.
Because once the agents are happy, it all falls into place.
Sure.
And so I honestly, you know, we've been courted before. You know, I've had other companies try to buy us. Just there
Wasn't the
really
right
there
time.
was no shared philosophy.
Yeah.
But again, with us, the companies and the philosophies and the people were just so much alike. It was an absolute no brainer. It really was.
It's got to be a little bit surreal for you to think back to that conversation with Danny 7 years ago, whenever
Yeah,
it was.
we talk
and-
about that.
Right. And here you are.
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know, and one of the things, you know, Danny and I have so much in common is he's an old entrepreneur too.
Yeah.
And he was actually in the boat business.
Oh, wow.
If you go into Danny's office, it looks like the skipper's office on the SS Minnow. I mean, there's, you know, wheels on the wall and all this maritime stuff. He is a boat in the Gulf. But Danny originally started out in the boat business and kind of got into real estate by accident. I don't remember where he was, but there was no real estate office, and he had a buddy that was a realtor and said, hey, if you want to start an office. And so eventually he got out of the boat business, and at one time I think he owned like 3 exit realty franchises, and then he finally went private. And so our backgrounds are a lot alike.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, in the dirt, start from nothing entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, you've got the guys from United, where that started almost 100 years ago, as guys out west selling dirt. And so that philosophy is just kind of there. So it was really just a perfect mesh.
Sure.
There was, again, I kept looking for the negatives.
Yeah.
You know, what's the negative here? How is this, you know, but and people can believe this or not. If this deal wasn't beneficial to my agents, I would not have done the deal. This is a small town. I have to live here with these people. They all know where I live, you know. So, but yeah, so we're very excited about the future of it.
Well, I congratulate you, sir.
I appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate it.
Let's wrap up. Do you have any final thoughts?
Let me say this. I love your podcast.
Thank you.
I love what you do. I watch every one of them.
Do you?
I mean, I do. I'm a treadmill watcher, you know.
There you go.
And I love what you're doing. I love the variety. You know, the one you did with my pal Joey Cece,
Oh, yeah.
I've watched that like 5 times.
Have you?
I mean, it's so informative. And you look at a guy like Louis Breland, you
Yeah.
talk about an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love what you're doing.
Thanks, man.
Keep doing it if I can help you in any way. By the way, do you need a realtor?
Do I? Well, you know what?
You always throw that out there,
Well,
right?
I will tell you this. I was just talking to my son. I was like, you know, Tim's coming over. We should talk to him about getting into flipping homes.
Oh,
Do
my
something
God.
as a father-son
Let's talk
thing.
about that on another
Yeah.
show. But no, we're very excited. We think this is going to be good, not only for the company and our agents, but for the community.
Yeah.
Because it's really vital that the agents who are out there are well trained, know what they're doing, are honest. And we just think this is going to be a good thing for everyone involved, including the community. So,
You know, you haven't seen this episode come out yet, but I just interviewed Donna Ehart from Huntsville Generator. It's like a VC firm.
okay.
And they're out of like Minneapolis, or I shouldn't say Minneapolis. They're out of Minnesota.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
I don't know. I had Minnesota on my mind. But the cool thing is, like you were just saying, the variety, like the fact that VCs are here. Yes, Huntsville is a secondary market when you think about that. But the more and more things come here as we grow, and
Yeah.
growth means lots of things. And to see something like even a big time real estate transaction is exciting for the business community, or people should get excited about that those things are happening in Huntsville, because if we want to be a primary market, well, then those are the types of things that are in place.
Right.
Where a company like United sees the value in North Alabama to approve a merger, of two entities, even if they're small. It's the potential, right, and to ride that growth wave of the number 2 city to to live in the country, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just our market is so unique. We have. You were talking earlier about the home prices and that sort of thing. There's no market crash here.
Yeah.
If anything, we need way more houses. That is the one issue, is our shortage of inventory. Although there are a lot of builders now cranking out houses. I mean, upwards of $2-3 million custom homes.
Yeah.
But what I think United sees this market for what it is. It is one of the hottest markets in the country. It is not going to go down. The economic development here is just insane. You've luckily got politicians and planners that understand what they have to do to make the area grow.
Yeah.
And so with United, even though I still say we're small potatoes, I think they see the value of not only this area, but the whole state of Alabama. And so I think just starting here and what they're putting into this it proves that they have faith in this market.
Okay.
And so we're very excited about what's to come here. So
how exciting is it for you? You kind of grew up in the shadows of Cliff Farm, right? That wasn't too far from where you grew up, and it's just exploding, and more like different yummy restaurants are coming in, and stuff like. I think about you all the time. Again, folks, if you haven't listened to episodes 13 and 14. Tim was a stand-up comedian at one point, right? He was in the gun business. He had a web design company, software development company. So he's done a lot of things. And here we are now successfly. I think you're kind of like a King Midas, Tim, just about anything you touch.
I don't know about that. Not everything I touch turns to gold.
That's my message to people at Revolved. Like, look, Tim knows what he's doing. He's a professional. He's been there before, and he works smart before he works hard.
This is true. Yeah.
So
I still work hard.
This is a very smart move, and it sets up more hard work, but you wouldn't do it unless it was a smart thing to do.
I love a good challenge, and I think this is going to be a good one. I've always been a startup guy.
Yeah.
We talked about on the prior podcast, my great joy is walking into a blank room and turning it into a business.
There you go.
And so for me, this is just it's a logical next step. We could have continued doing what we were doing, but this is really going to ramp that up, and it's a new day every day for me. So,
well, my friend, all the best.
Appreciate you.
I look forward to helping roll this out with the campaign, and to a great year.
Thank you. You too.
All right,
Keep
Tim.
up the good work.
Take care.